My name is Christian Puckett. This is Peacekeeper. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Peacekeeper podcast. My name is Christian Puckett, and today I've got Mr. Brandon Baca from across the planet as a guest. Dude, what's up, man? How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Long time no talk.
I know. Oh my goodness. So Brandon and I, we were best friends growing up, right?
Yeah.
You were like one of the best friends I had from ages, like I think I was 3 or 4, like when I slept over at your house for the first time. We were straight up homies,
Yeah.
man.
We like grew up like in diapers together. You know,
Yeah.
our parents were friends, and so it was just like a natural thing. But yeah, it's like all of my earliest memories are with Christian, so
I
you
know.
know, it's crazy.
So where are you at right now? Where are you living? I know you're living in Europe. I thought you were in Spain, but where are you at?
Yeah, I'm in Spain. I'm in an island in the middle of the Mediterranean, called Mallorca, and so I'm in Palma de Mallorca, which is like a really beautiful city, just plopped isolated in the Mediterranean Sea. It's yeah,
Okay, so what brought you out there?
I have no idea, honestly. So we can talk about it later, but like I was in the process of getting like Spanish citizenship for like 4 years. And so when I finally like got my passport in the mail in June, I was looking online for like volunteer um, jobs in Portugal or wherever in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found a job working at a surf camp for the summer. So as soon as I got my passport, I booked tickets like 2 days afterwards, and I was flying to Portugal the next week with no plan, just winging it. One-way ticket to Portugal. I only had like $300 in my bank account,
Oh my
so like
goodness.
I had no idea what I was doing. So I got on the flight, one way to Lisbon, landed in Lisbon, and I had to take like a 5-hour bus to like this random small town in Portugal. I had no idea, like I didn't know any of the people. And some dude comes, he was like little like like this, what do you call them? Like those like lowrider cars, or
Yeah,
we have a
yeah.
word, a beamer, yeah, like a beamer or something.
Okay.
And he like honks his horn, and he picks me up. He's all, I might get in, He's like, that was the owner of the surf camp. His name was Sam. So like, I'm like sleep deprived, like holding on to like 5 bags with no money, and I'm just getting in some random guy's little car.
So he was
And so
just
he
driving
drives me,
past?
huh?
He was just driving past?
No, like he was gonna pick me up.
Oh,
So we
okay. He was
arranged this like
okay.
a
I thought
week
it was just a
before. He
random
picked. Sorry,
person.
yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah. So he picked me up, and yeah, he took me to the camp, and yeah, and so I've ended up working at some random surf camp in Portugal for a month and a half. And yeah, and so my initial plan was to just kind of backpack around Europe for a year.
Okay.
And yeah, after Portugal, I ended up getting really sick. I had bronchitis, so I
Uh-oh.
was in bed for 2 weeks, and so I ended up going to my friends in Galicia and staying at their house for 2 weeks to recover. And while I was there, I discovered like a website on the internet called Workaway, which is essentially like you can travel, and you get food and lodging, but you have to work for these people. And there's all kinds of different tasks. You work at a hostel, you work on a farm,
Okay.
you do construction on the house, whatever. And yeah, this one I just applied to every single one I saw. And the first lady that got back to me was a single lady, British lady here in Mallorca, that owns a finca, which is like an old cottage, basically in the countryside, that she was renovating and she needed help. So she said, "Yeah, I need you as soon as possible." So I'm like, "Okay." So I looked on the internet, got like 12 euro plane ticket one way to Mallorca. More Mallorca. She
Mm-hmm.
picked me up at the airport, And yeah, and so I ended up working for her for a month. And now, sorry, it's a long story, so I don't know
No,
like
yeah,
where to
it's
lead off.
interesting.
But yeah, just ask questions. But so while I was here, I really fell in love with the island. It was just so beautiful, like the beaches, the like Mediterranean climates, the bushes, like all the smells, the juniper. It's just
Mm.
incredibly beautiful to me. So I thought like, well, I have the ability now. I can stay here as long as I want. I'm a citizen of this country, and I started looking on the internet for jobs. And so I got in contact with this school here in a private English academy. In like in the very like after I sent the email, like 5 minutes go by and they call me on the phone. They're
Oh,
like, "Oh, you're
really?
really interested
Dang.
in this job? Yeah, send in your CV is what they call it. Here's a resume." So I sent them my like like my patched up resume from like it's just I don't and so I ended up um yeah, they gave me an interview and I got the job like the next day. And so
Dang.
I had to scramble and
That's
like figure out where I
awesome.
was going to live in the city. But yeah, I've been here for 6 months now. I've
Okay.
been working and yeah, I'm just kind of stuck here to be honest, but it just
It
all
sounds
kind of
like a
worked
good
out.
place to be stuck. I see the
Yeah, no, it's
pictures that you're
absolutely
posting
beautiful.
and dude, it looks so beautiful
Yeah.
out there. If you could like explain your life to somebody that doesn't know you at all, I would be curious for myself to just hear your life story through your perspective and through your words and just everything that led you to where you're at right now.
Yeah, well, man, I don't
It's
even
a
know.
big question,
That's
I
a hard
know, but
question. Yeah, yeah.
we got
So
time.
I always had like this like bug, like this feeling for adventure, like a travel bug or whatever.
Hmm.
Ever since I was a teenager is when it really started to manifest, and so I would like really romanticize like going to London or going to Germany, and we had a German exchange student named Vanessa. Remember Vanessa?
Yeah.
And like yeah, yeah, and it was just like really cool to make all these friends like from around the world, like exchange students. And then I got into like music production at a young
Yeah,
age.
I remember that.
And yeah, and I started like getting in contact with all these other producers from all around the world. Germany, Denmark, I don't know, any country, Italy. And so like I don't know, like it was weird because I was just a teenager and they became friends. So we would like talk on Skype and make friendships and yeah, just communicate. So really at an early age, I was just kind of like, wow, there's more out there than my little, city of Albuquerque. Like there's
Right.
things to discover. So it just got me really excited. So on my in my junior year of high school, I went by myself at 17, 16. I don't remember how old I was. And I went to my first solo trip ever to Denmark, Copenhagen, to meet one of my producer friends that I was friends with for the previous 3 years. And so I saved up enough money, and I flew to Copenhagen from Albuquerque, a really long flight. I only spent 10 days there. But
Dang.
yeah, I stayed with him and his family. I got to know his friends. And yeah, at the time, it was just like this honeymoon effect. Like, oh my God, Europe is so amazing. Like, they have cafes and the streets are marble. They have all these old buildings. And like at that time, it was just completely like brand new to me.
Hmm.
And so when I went back to New Mexico, I was like really bummed out. I was like, oh man, I'm
Yeah.
back in the desert.
I get that feeling for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember one of my first memories coming back as like, my parents picked me up from the airport and we stopped at a gas station. And like we're at this gas station and this guy is like coming up like begging for money. I'm like, oh yeah, back in back in Berkeley.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't feel that way. I don't feel so negative about home as much as I did back then. But yeah, so I went, it was my senior year of high school, and just like that whole year, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get out of here, and I'm gonna move to the Netherlands and become a music producer and be
Mm-hmm.
successful. And that was like my goal. And so what ended up happening is I graduated high school, but obviously things are not that simple.
Right.
To be able to like live and work somewhere, you have to go through visa processes. You have to do all these steps, and it's almost impossible as an 18-year-old with
Yeah.
no experience, with nothing, no diploma, nothing. So I was kind of a bit discouraged, a bit heartbroken.
Yeah.
So I just like, okay, well, if that's not gonna work, I'm just gonna become like a full-time backpacker, travel the world and just do backpacking.
Yeah.
So I saved enough. I At the time I was working for U Public Studios, which was like my dad was a part owner, and through a bit of nepotism, I got a job as a sound engineer. But I was a sound like my whole life. I was really into sound and music production, so it was just kind of a natural transition.
Yeah.
And so for about 2 years, I worked there for like a local TV show we had called The Morning Brew,
I
and then a
remember
few other
that.
programs. Yeah, and it was a really good experience. I learned a lot, and I learned I mean, I earned a decent amount of money doing it, because
Okay.
at the time I was living at home, so I was having to pay any bills, and I was making like 2,000 grand checks a month for,
Heck yeah.
it was like crazy. Yeah, so I was just saving money, and so the summer came, and I'm like, well, I have all this money now. I can go wherever I want. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no way, I can finally do this. So I ended up buying a ticket to Tokyo, of all places.
Yeah, I remember that. You went to Japan kind of off the cuff, right? On a whim.
Yeah, 3 days.
That's
3 days in
crazy.
advance.
So
Yeah,
what
so I like
spurred
bought
that?
my
I mean,
ticket. I'm
like,
like,
what is that internal drive to just drop everything and go across the entire planet?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like, I was just, I guess, to me, the world interested me. Like different cultures, different
Yeah.
languages, different ways of living. It was just so interesting to me. Like there's a whole other world out there other than the world I grew up in.
Yeah, I guess people
So
just don't. I mean, I guess I'm speaking for myself too. I have
yeah,
that same inclination and that same curiosity and
yeah,
desire, but
yeah,
actually, pulling the trigger and making it happen is a whole other story. And I feel like
yeah,
that's what you have, which is cool.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think a lot of people get cold feet, especially when it's like their first time doing something. And so, I was a little nervous before going to Japan.
For
Just
sure.
because it's by myself. In like a week before, like there was like a earthquake there. Like I don't even know how big it was, but there was an
Dang.
earthquake. I'm like, oh man, I might die in an earthquake. Like all these thoughts are going through my head.
Yeah.
But I just kind of took one step after another, and I just went, and I had the best. Well, I had one of the best experiences of my life. It was, at the time I just turned 20. Um, and then, I was 20 in Tokyo, staying at youth hostels. I got to meet all these people from all around the world. We became friends from Sweden, from France. It's just like, oh man, it was just at the time like uh like a euphoric feeling.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I spent 16 days there, came back, and it's just like the same thing. It's like, well, okay, I'm back home. Now what? I have to work again just so I can go on another 2-week vacation in the summer. So I started changing my plan, and I'm like, okay, well, uh, maybe I can study in Italy or something.
Yeah.
So I started getting my paperwork together, all these things like stamps and approvals to study in Italy. And yeah, sorry, it's a bit of a rant, but I uh,
All good.
I ended up like 2 days before I was supposed to fly to University of Pisa in Pisa, Italy, of all places. I ended up in the hospital.
Uh-oh.
I had an appendicitis. This is like
Oh.
2016.
Okay.
Okay. And I ended up being in the hospital for 2 weeks because it
Ugh.
was more complicated than an appendicitis. They took
Uh-oh.
out my appendix, but they
Dang.
also saw that part of my small gut was inflamed.
Okay.
So they had to cut out I don't know, like an inch or something of my small intestine.
Wow. That's
And
serious.
so yeah, yeah, it's serious. I mean, you've gone through something similar, you know. And so the doctors didn't know what the problem was, and so they wanted to diagnose me with Crohn's or something, right?
Oh, I did not know that.
Um,
Or I guess now it's coming back to me, but I forgot all about that. Wow.
yeah. So what's weird? Well, there was another episode later in my life, but I have never had any of the symptoms that are typically associated with Crohn's disease. Like I don't like right now, I would never guess. Like I don't have any
Hmm.
stomach pain ever. I feel like I have a normal functioning gut.
Right.
But like yeah, so I just don't it's kind of like a mystery what happened. So,
Interesting.
yeah, after that whole ordeal, that whole process made me lose tons of weight and and I'm like, oh man, I don't know what to do. So, I ended up going to Paris on a whim, working as like an au pair, because
What
my
is
plans
that?
for Italy. So an au pair is like a nanny, basically. It's
Oh,
just a
okay.
fancy word for a nanny. And so you stay with the family, they give you no allowance, you babysit, you teach English to their
Hey, that
children.
sounds like a nice setup.
Okay, so yeah, it was nice. It was a great experience. I ended up in Paris. So I mean, not a lot can go wrong. And
Yeah.
I I was with this French family that had one daughter named Paloma. And yeah, I ended up, but what was cool is I had my own place. Like they had a separate apartment just for me. It was like a small
Dang.
rinky-dink apartment, you know. But it was really nice. So I had to spend a lot of time with them, but I also had my own space,
Yeah.
and so it was really cool. So I ended up in Paris for 9 months, So yeah, and so after that, I ended up kind of doing these small jobs around for like 3 years. I went to Italy, Torino, then I ended up in Spain again, and I had another medical emergency there, and I was in the hospital in San
Dang.
Sebastian, Spain, for 2 months. Oh, sorry, 2 months. I mean 2 weeks.
Okay. I mean, 2 weeks is still
Yeah,
serious for
yeah,
sure to be in the hospital, but different from 2 months.
yeah, yeah. Big difference. Sorry, I spent too much time with Spanish people. I'm losing my English.
Oh, no, you're good.
Uh, yeah, so 2 weeks, and
Was it
yeah, so
related, do you think, to the last time you were in the hospital?
yeah, yes,
Okay.
definitely. Okay, so uh, I went to Spain. I'm leaving a bunch of gaps because there's so much stuff that's happened in my life. But I was in Spain first in Pamplona. And in Pamplona, I arrived there just in time for the Run of the Bulls party. Like the fiesta,
Okay, yeah.
where the people run from the bulls, and it's called San Ferminas. And I had the time of my life, but I got into this weird habit because in Spain, they drink a lot of alcohol like crazy. They're drinking for lunch breaks. It's just the drinking culture here isn't healthy. And I
Mhm.
got into that. Like, oh, it's like, oh, I meet up with my friends for a beer at lunch, and then there's always parties here, always a reason to go out. And I had tons of energy, and I was just going out to parties and just drinking too much. And
Yeah.
I think that had a lot to do with what ended up happening. So then a month goes by, and I moved to San Sebastian, which is a northern coastal town in the Basque Country in Spain, which is beautiful. And yeah, everything was going well there. I ended up like working out in the gym while I was having this unhealthy lifestyle of drinking.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was like I was going real hard. I started doing deadlifts and like I was like really trying.
That's good,
And
yeah.
I think, yeah, but I think it was related, like because one morning I woke up and I noticed that just not to be so visual, but my stool was like black.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there's blood.
No
And
good.
so
That's
yeah,
not what you
not
wanna
good.
see.
I'm like that, so I knew this was serious.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's always I hate every time there's a problem to go on Reddit or something because people are there. But
Dude,
I had no
same. Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
And so I was reading like the worst stuff. Oh, you have colon cancer. Or you just like, I'm like, oh
Dude, yeah.
no,
Yeah.
you know?
The Reddit
Yeah. So
doctors.
so I woke up. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? And so uh, I kind of went like the first hour of my day with this in the back of my mind, like, okay, this isn't normal. Like, but I tried to like continue on my day. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't do this. So I I talked to my friend and she says, you need to go into the emergency room. And so I went there. I said, I have an emergency. And like the ambulance came and picked me up.
Dang.
Just it's like 10 minutes outside the city hospital.
Yeah.
They admitted me into the hospital and I was there for 2 weeks while they tried to diagnose me. And magically I just stopped bleeding after the first 2 nights and like everything went back to normal. So they, like in America, they try to diagnose me with Crohn's, but they also said it was
Mm.
odd thing. And yeah, and so I I ended up getting out of the hospital 2 weeks, and I had to go home. Like I had no choice to go home.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went home, and yeah, I started kind of rock bottom, and since then, I went home in 2018, August of two, no, October of 2018, something like that.
Okay.
Okay. Um, and so, uh, man, I don't even know. My story is chaotic, but
No, I mean, I'm following. I'm following.
yeah, yeah. So I ended up back home stuck, no plan. It's either like I get a minimum wage job, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's so, but that very day I found out about this process to get citizenship in Spain.
Mm.
Uh, is it's about people that are descendants of the Jews that were expelled during the Spanish Inquisition
Yeah.
are entitled to at least applying for citizenship. And yeah, the very day I got back, I found out about this. And so I knew through like stories that my grandma told me and just through vague stories through history that there was potentially that I could do this.
Yeah.
So I I look up the information and I see the deadline to apply was October 1st, 2018.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm like, no. So I emailed the Jewish Federation of New Mexico.
Dang.
Okay. Because they were like uh they were like promoting the program, okay?
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, good news. It's actually been extended another year."
Okay.
Yeah, and
So you
so
had missed the
that
deadline, but then they had extended it.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
So there was tons of hoops I had to go through.
Yeah.
I had to pass an exam, a language exam. I had to get all these stamps and apostles and notaries and translations. I mean, the whole process took me a year of grinding.
I'm sure. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
that my family also qualifies or we had qualified to obtain
yeah,
Spanish citizenship, but
yeah,
we had missed the deadline at that point, or it was like a month
yeah.
out, and it was just like, we don't have enough time to. I mean, I probably couldn't even pass the language test, honestly.
Yeah, I had like 2 months to study for it,
Yeah,
but um, yeah, and I passed by some miracle. At the time, it's
that's
like, oh man,
awesome.
this test is so hard. But now I look at it, oh man, it's so easy. But
That's funny.
but yeah, but I passed the exam. Okay, so in August, I fly to Barcelona to sign with the Spanish notary. It's like, okay, this is it. Um, in 1 year time from now, this day, I'm gonna have my passport. Okay, that wasn't the reality.
Mm,
So I ended up staying in Galicia, which is like northwest Spain, and it's a really beautiful area. And I stayed there for about 11 months. Okay,
okay.
and when I and while waiting for the process, I thought it was going to be a year, and then everything would happen. But a year goes by, nothing, no news. Okay. And I ended up going back to the States, and this is the last time I saw you was at the rock climbing gym,
Okay. Oh, right. I
right?
forgot about that time. You're right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So this is like 2019. No,
Mm.
no, no, 2020, right? It's like November
Was it during
2020, something
COVID, I
like that.
guess? Hmm.
No, no,
Were we
I think it
wearing
was like
masks?
February, like 2021 or something.
Okay.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, I just end up working like I was before. Before I left to Galicia, I was working on like a dairy farm, like
Yeah, the Smet.
doing small little jobs. Yeah, the Smith Dairy Farm,
Nice.
just doing small little jobs for them,
Yeah.
um, just to earn money. And I yeah, I ended up last October, October of 2021, I got the news that I was accepted by the Spanish government. And so I had to fly to Houston, like swear my oath to the King of Spain.
Wow.
And then I had to wait more, like another 6 months just to get my birth certificate, and then another 3 months to even apply for my passport. So this whole process was just drawn out.
Dang.
So at the end of the day, it was like almost 5 years of just
Dang.
waiting from, yeah,
Dang. I guess these
yeah,
things take time, but yeah, you get so antsy and you want it to happen right now, but so many things have to go
yeah,
in place. Dang, that's crazy.
yeah. So, like my whole motivation was because if you're a member of the European Union, like a European country, Germany, Sweden, Spain, Italy, I don't know, all the way
Yeah.
to Romania, you have a Schengen visa or access to the Schengen zone, which is like um is essentially like the United States. Like if you wanted to, you can pack your bags and move to New York or like in the wilderness of Montana. No
Yeah.
problems, no extra paperwork. That's basically what I can do throughout the entire European Union. So I'm not
Okay.
confined to Spain. I am not, I can go anywhere I want, work, have the rights to healthcare, to anything as a citizen of Austria would have if I were to move to Austria, for example.
Dang.
So it really opens this door for me. So now I can study, I can pursue education, whatever in the European Union, or if I want to go back to the United States, I can, right?
So, okay, yeah,
And
yeah. So you,
also,
you also have your American citizenship, which is really cool too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So if you want to see them,
Yeah.
I brought them out both so you can
Dang.
see. I
Nice.
have my American passport and then my Spanish passport.
Dang.
So yeah, so it looks cool. It's like walking around the airport like a James Bond villain, you
That's a
know?
nice flex. Yeah. So, like, okay,
Yeah,
now that
yeah,
you've been in, I guess I'll just say Europe for
yeah.
5 years now at this point, roughly, or has it been longer than that?
If
I
I've been
mean,
here off and
off and
on since
on, but
21, 21. So I would actually probably say 7 years, and 6 years in total. I
yeah,
would have to like sit down and do the
yeah.
math. But yeah, most of my adult life has been in Europe. Yeah,
So,
which is
like,
weird.
now that you've kind of removed yourself from America and all the the culture and the kind of baggage that America has on it. I mean, there's a lot of great aspects about America, but like, are there
Yeah, of
things now that
course.
you have removed yourself from this country that you don't miss? Or like, what are some main differences between living in
Like,
Spain versus the US that you've noticed?
okay, well, yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say, like, this isn't like an anti-American.
Right.
Like, my motivation was, oh, I need to get out of America. I just
Yeah.
liked the idea of expanding my horizons,
Yeah.
and I liked Europe. Okay, so it was never that. But yeah, differences here. There's many, but there's a lot of things that are similar. Um, I think now that I've been away from America for a significant amount of time, I kind of like miss the convenience of things being open all the time.
Mm.
Fast Amazon Prime deliveries,
Yeah.
just everything like consumer things like, oh, Walmart's always going to be open. You can always go on a Sunday and go to your favorite restaurant. Like
Yeah.
that's not the case in Europe. Like
Okay.
they close all the time for holidays. On Sunday, everything's always closed, and which is actually a good thing for like the employees, the
Yeah,
people that
I'm sure
work.
that's nice for the
But
workers.
yeah, yeah, and I also there's things about like the American mentality that I just find better as far as like people being more like entrepreneurial and like wanting to uh, work harder to achieve more. I feel like in Europe, people are just kind of content about staying in their class system their whole lives. Like if they're born middle class, oh, I'm not going to achieve anything. I'm going to stay middle class. Like here, okay, like growing up, I never thought about class in America.
Mhm.
Like we had friends that were rich, we had friends that are poor, we
Right.
had friends in like everywhere.
Yeah.
I never thought, oh, that's an upper class family. I can't be friends. Like that never even occurred to me. Like I
Yeah.
always thought that we were always kind of equal, and it's like whatever you do is gonna affect your future. But here, people kind of have this idea of that um, you're kind of born into a class system and you're kind of stuck in it. To
Okay.
me, that's just a weird mentality. I just don't vibe with it at
Do you
all.
think that's because there's actual like monarchies and kings and queens and stuff like that? Like the class system
Yeah,
is a
well,
lot more abundant or upfront.
well, yeah. It's kind of like a pseudo monarchy, like Spain's a monarchy, but it's also a democracy in England. But yes, I mean it does stem from that, and it's also like I think hierarchy is inevitable. Everything's going to be a
Right.
hierarchical structure. So obviously, like in the States, in a way, class does exist, but it's not
Right.
something we use to define ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you
I
have the
feel like
ability
here,
to change that a lot easier potentially.
yeah, and you can here too, but it's just like to hear it's more of a cultural thing. Like
Okay.
people treat it differently, and yeah, so
Okay, so
that's
like class systems are a little bit more apparent in
yeah,
Europe. What about okay, and so you said that there's definitely an American hustle, an American drive that
yeah,
exists over here a little bit more.
yeah.
Are there any other differences like you've seen culturally or society wide?
Mm, well, I don't know. I have to think about that one because there's just so many. Like, I want to
Yeah.
think of something that's a bit more like,
What's like
um,
the is there like an emphasis on health and wellness over there? Is there a cleaner diet?
yeah,
Is it worse
okay,
diets? What does that
yeah,
look
that's
like
a
over
good one.
there?
Is to get into like food. The quality of food here is way better than back home.
That's what I hear.
Just like the food that you can eat, like that you buy at a grocery store. Obviously, you can go to Whole Foods or you can go Trader Joe's or farm or buy from your local farm. Like that's
Hmm.
possible in the States. But here, just like the normal consumer goods are more tightly controlled on what's in it. And yeah, it's just people, other than like the amount of alcohol and the amount of smoking that goes on
Yeah.
here, people here are just relatively healthier. I would
Mm.
say there's less obese people. That's one thing I always notice when I fly back to America at an airport. It's just the
Really?
sheer amounts of overweight people. It's surprising when you've been
Yeah.
away from it for a while.
Mm.
You know, it's a little bit sad,
It
but
is sad. Yeah.
and then the quality of the bread and the cheese, like it's so
Mm.
different. Like in America, we have this like white bread that will live in
Sponge.
your pantry for like a year.
Right.
You know, here I have to buy like a new loaf of bread every day because it'll go bad, you know?
Right. As it should.
So yeah, and it just tastes better, you
Yeah.
know?
Okay.
But yeah, yeah.
Let me see here. What other differences? Is there the same sort of consumerism and materialistic mindset that people have over there that I feel like is pretty rampant
Y-
over here?
y- Yeah, I would say so. I maybe not so much in the past, but now everything is kind of globalized. We have TikTok,
Yeah.
Instagram,
Yeah.
and so we're consuming the same content everywhere around the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so the same, and yes, I think it's very apparent, especially with fashion here, like high-end fashion. People love like brands like Armani or Gucci,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like the way you dress is like a staple of who you are. In I've never been that way. I just buy whatever looks cool, you
Yeah.
know? But yes, I think the consumerist culture is very much alive in Spain, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that you would ever move back to America, or do you see yourself staying in Spain or staying in Europe for the
Um,
rest of your life?
I'm I'm happy here. I can't say where I'll be in 10 years from now as far as like living because you never know where life
Right.
will bring you, right? But I do love the ability to just hop on a plane and be in a different part of the world, a different culture, different language. Just the other side, down here is Africa, like Algeria.
Yeah.
It's like incredible. Like where I am, like geographically on the map is crazy to see because there's so much history, so much. It's just so rich, and so I
Yeah.
really love this part of the world. I don't know. I would love to buy a house here one day, and maybe buy it. Have two houses, one back home. You know, but I
Yeah.
would like if one day I have a family, I love the ability that I can hand down both my passports to them, so
Yeah.
my children will have access to both the European Union and America for the rest of their lives. And yeah, that's just incredible. I don't know.
Yeah. So you can actually pass down your
Oh
citizenship to your
yeah.
children. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, dude, you're so inspiring, man. Like I just watching you from a distance over the years has just it's just so cool to see you. It appears, I'll just say from my perspective, from an outsider's perspective, that you're thriving out there. I mean, you look great. I mean, you look really healthy. Um, you just seem happier than
Yeah.
you just seem like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that's just really inspiring. And it makes me want to do something similar. I mean, I want to go visit you. Like that sounds like such a good time to go visit.
Yeah, man, I'd
I'm
love that.
I'm on a totally different life path right
Life.
now, just with
Yeah.
hunkering down, bought a house, have two kids, working
Right.
full time, heading back to school part time. So it's just it just the idea of dropping everything and going and spending a week, like that sounds so appealing, but so much would have to go into it, and
Yeah,
then you'd have to be we'd have to be babysitting kids, and that's just a whole other thing.
I
It's
understand.
doable, but we would just have to be very serious about wanting to make it happen.
Sure. Well, I mean, don't compare yourself like too hard to
Oh
me
right,
because
yeah.
I've definitely had my downsides, like
Yeah,
I have these thoughts like, oh man, I should uh be more focused on creating some type of income to sustain me, or not everything is flowers and roses
right,
living
yeah.
like this. But and I don't also want to be some like 40-year-old guy with a ponytail, traveling the world with a backpack. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
I want to settle down, one day,
Yeah,
maybe find a family, and it's just, it's not. This isn't a sustainable way of living your entire life. But when I was younger, I'm creeping up towards 30, which is kind of scary.
yeah,
But
same.
I just like, oh man, I really wanted to experience as many places as I can, and I still want to see more. But
Yeah.
yeah, you know,
Do you have, I mean, you talk about maybe looking at it through rose colored glasses, and there's probably ups and downs. Do you have any stuff that you've learned over the years, like protocols or practices that you've put in place to kind of deal with being in a lowered headspace or trying to like manage your mental well being?
yeah. Well, what I learned with like my mental health is diet has a lot to do with it.
Mm.
And it's really closely related to my gut health.
Yeah.
So, when I experienced depression for once in my life, like serious depression, it was because of my gut.
Mm.
Uh, I was, and it threw me through a loop. And so, for me, just to, I always learned if I'm feeling like groggy or sad and I can't find like a reason, it's usually related to how I've been eating or uh, not getting enough exercise. So for me, and
Mm.
running and working out have been game changers as far
Yeah.
as that. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I can
I'm sure you can
definitely
relate to
tell.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. Like my physical health and my mental health are pretty like linearly or like heavily correlated. If one
yeah,
goes up, the other one goes up. If one goes down, the other one
exactly.
goes down. And yeah,
Yeah,
just realizing over the course of the years of just how connected, yeah, your gut is to your brain, to
yeah,
like the mind body connection. It's very real. And so I've, yeah, probably similar to you, have had to really just go back to the drawing board and kind of reassess um like what lifestyle choices am I making on a daily or habitually that are causing
yeah,
problems, whether that's mentally or physically. And I've had to, yeah, scrap so many things of just, okay, this is not working anymore. I keep running into walls left and right. And so let me,
yeah.
um, I mean, I've just had so many different seasons of diet and
Mhm.
exploring, exploring different, um, yeah, I guess just diets and seeing what's worked best. And a lot of it is
Right.
not what I'm eating, it's what I'm not eating, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, yeah,
um, I mean, when I was in my late teens and early 20s and yeah, going through very similar health stuff, um, I look back now and I'm like, well, yeah, of course of course I had health issues. I was eating nothing but, processed carbohydrates and drinking all the time and smoking
yeah,
cigarettes and, you know, fast food and candy and like just the worst standard American
yeah,
diet you can think of. And my
yeah,
body
yeah.
snapped and makes sense now, but yeah, I mean, I've found over the course of, I guess, the last 7 years or so that my body really just responds best to whole foods, and it's kind of just simple, like as simple as that. Just the way
Yeah.
that food grows from the ground, or
Hmm.
like just try to eat food as close as it came from nature, whether it's a plant or an animal.
Right.
I'm actually right now kind of experiencing. I've been eating. I'll just say my diet has honestly been very heavily animal product
Yeah.
based over the course of
Hmm.
the last 5 to 7 years, and I think that's been good for me because I think meat can help and promote healing and like repairing in the body.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
I'm kind of reaching a point right now where I think I'm really kicking back my animal product consumption, just because I feel like I
Uh-huh.
don't need to consume as much as I used to. So I just stick to like cooked vegetables. I'll do a few like seasonal fruits and stuff, some
Hmm.
some berries, some nuts and seeds, but it's so
Right.
simple and it's the simplest diet you can think of.
Right.
And I just really try. I don't consume any alcohol. I don't drink. Um,
Yeah.
I don't. I barely eat out ever. I cook the majority of my meals at home, and it's just being
Yeah.
intentional. And I think it varies from person to person of
For
whether
sure.
they should be eating more veggies or if they can eat more animal products. And I think that
Right.
it depends on like what season you're in life. Um,
Yeah. I
but
could say for me,
yeah,
sorry,
no, go
like
ahead.
like uh like a carnivore diet, like eating exclusively meat, uh changed my mental health like completely, like in a positive way.
Okay, so you
Because
did do
when I,
carnivore.
yeah, so I don't know how old I was. I was at 20, about to change turn to 21. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I thought like, oh man, I eat way too much protein, because I went to the doctor, like had a yearly checkup. He's like, "Oh, you have way too much protein in your blood." I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what I was doing, so I'm like, "Oh man, I better start eating more vegetables." So I essentially like tried like a vegetarian diet.
Mm-hmm.
I went cold turkey. It's just now looking in hindsight, so goofy, but like,
Your
I
body's
and
probably like, hey,
that's
where's all that protein? Where's all
it
that fat?
shocked me, and that's what caused inflammation in my gut,
Mm,
and that inflammation led me to depression.
yeah.
And so I couldn't figure it out at first. So it went like 2 weeks by and I stopped. I went back to eating meat. And then a couple days go by and the depression went away,
Mm.
you know? So yeah, and to me, meat is a very important part of my diet,
Yeah, I
you
mean, it's
know?
been absolutely
Yeah,
huge in my recovery.
yeah,
I think people with compromised guts, whether that's
exactly.
Crohn's or
Yeah,
inflammatory or IBS or celiac, like if you have a compromised gut, I think carnivore or very, very strict
right.
keto is the protocol you need to
Yeah,
balance back out, to return to
for
equilibrium.
sure.
Are you still on a carnivore diet?
Well, I mean, I eat like pasta and I have bread and stuff, but yeah, mainly
Heavily
I
focused
mostly
on
eat
meat.
meats, and when I do eat vegetables, I eat them when they're cooked, boiled, or grilled. Like I don't eat raw vegetables ever
Honestly,
anymore.
me neither. I will
Yeah,
only I'm essentially cooking all of my food. Like I rarely
yeah,
eat raw foods unless it's, maybe some berries or sometimes some nuts and stuff. But
yeah,
I would say 90 to 95% of my food is cooked because it's just, I think,
yeah,
again, for people with potentially compromised guts, it just makes nutrient absorption. It just makes it so much easier and less taxing on the gut.
yeah,
Because yeah, if I ate a raw like salad with, raw broccoli and
yeah,
cucumbers and
yeah.
celery,
That's bad.
dude, that would shred me up. I'd have to just like take a nap and then it just wouldn't look good coming out.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was in this summer, when I was in Portugal, like we had this like shared kitchen, and basically we all cooked like our own food, you know. And this German girl was like disgusted by me that she saw that I only like would make a sandwich just meat, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you don't put the vegetables, you know. It's like
Yeah.
I'm like I told them like how it makes me like how it affects my mental health, but most people don't understand. Like they think it's BS, you know?
Yeah, that's so
Like the
interesting. I
average
didn't
person. Yeah.
Right. I guess I can understand how it looks from the outside for somebody that
Yeah.
doesn't really have any health issues or doesn't even think about,
Yeah.
health and wellness. But it's just tricky though, because I know a lot of vegans and I'm close with a lot of vegans and they're
Sure.
the healthiest people you've ever met. And they've been on it for 5 years,
Right.
10 years, 15 years. And so like, I don't want to take that away from them and say that, oh,
Sure.
everybody needs to be on the carnivore diet or everybody needs to be on a strict
Yeah.
paleo or keto diet. I think it does vary from person to person based off genetics and their health and then their physical activity levels. And there's so many factors that go into it. But one thing I can say for certain is that meat and animal products and bone broth and, eating
Hmm.
healthy fats from healthy animals. That's another thing I like to mention is that
Sure.
I
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
to the best of my ability to eat healthy animals because I think that's also very important. But that's just
Yeah.
been so huge for my own personal health transformation. And I mean, if you
Mhm.
could see pictures of me from when I was 21, and then if you look at me now, I mean, you can't really argue that
Yeah,
it's been beneficial for me, right? I mean,
bro. I remember that picture you like posted on Instagram after you like were in the hospital, like recovering.
yeah,
It's like it was like crazy. Like I couldn't believe that was you, you know?
dude, yeah. I
You know,
mean, I
it's
luckily that season of life it has become more and more of just like a distant memory, which I'm very thankful for.
yeah,
But dude, it
it,
was, I mean, it sounds like similar to you. I was at rock bottom, dude. My health was
yeah,
failing me. I was spiraling
yeah,
physically towards a place where, you're not going to live long if you keep up your current trajectory. And
right.
it had, luckily, I've never been on any sort of medication, and I'm not on any sort of medication right now. These
Awesome.
Western doctors will throw every pharmaceutical they can to try to get you
Yeah,
on. And I did it for like,
yeah.
I did an anti-inflammatory and a steroid, when I was probably 22. I did it for about 6 months and it just wasn't working. And then they wanted to get me on Humira, the
Ugh.
immunosuppressing drug that just like kneecaps your immune system. I was like, dude, there's got to be a different way. I mean, this can't be
Yeah.
me for the rest of my life, like having to inject an immune suppressing drug into my thigh every week. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
exactly. And I think that's what scared me the most when I was sick in the hospital is like this
Mm,
idea of having a chronic issue that, oh, I'm gonna have to be taking some type of drug or,
right.
it's like I didn't want to believe it,
Right.
you know?
And then
Yeah.
I feel like the doctors, maybe it's similar in Europe. I don't know, but I just think that the doctors in America scare the living hell out of everybody and make them think
Hmm.
that this is the only option. This is the only way.
Yeah.
This, if you want to
Yeah.
die or if you don't want to die, then you have to follow exactly what we
Yeah.
say. You have
Yeah.
to get on these prescriptions. You have to pay these bills, and it's sad and it's really discouraging. And I have a I have a big issue with the way that the West and America does healthcare. It's just a disaster.
Right.
And it seems like
Right.
maybe there's some beginnings of some optimistic changes, but it's just so screwed up right now. And it's so like the system is built to keep people sick, to get people to
Hmm.
extract as much money from the poor, it seems like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the middle class, and just like it's a disaster. But that's a whole other conversation for another day.
Yeah. We can definitely go down a rabbit hole, you know.
Yeah.
I definitely I have some ideas that might some people might consider conspiracy theories, but you know,
Honestly, me too, but
yeah,
maybe another time.
yeah,
I
no, it's
have
interesting.
I have a couple more questions for you.
Yeah,
Because I probably have maybe about 15 more minutes here
okay,
until I got to get going. But um, I want to try incorporating some segments on my podcast. So I'm kind of just
uh-huh,
testing a few out. Um, I'm still sort of trying to find my voice and trying to
mm-hmm,
figure out what I want this podcast to be focused around. And I do
right,
think that I want it to be grounded and kind of built upon focusing on health and physical health and mental health.
yeah,
And so I kind of wanted to do like a couple segments here. The first one is called Lows and Highs, and then the second one is
okay,
called Level Up. But the first one, Lows and Highs, I want to ask my guests what was the lowest part of your last week, and then what was the highest part of your last week, and then the
okay.
segment after that kind of tags attaches to that a little bit. But if we could just start there, what was the lowest part of this last week for you?
Okay, so this morning for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This morning I just felt awful. I kind of felt a bit, I wouldn't say depressed, but just kind of grumpy, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's because I kind of felt nauseated, and like we were talking before, like your gut and your mind are
Yeah.
connected to each other. And so I kind of felt nauseated, and I had to take the bus because I give these Thursdays and Tuesdays are hard days for me, the hardest days of the week because I have to go to this public school and I have to teach three lessons, one after the other. And
Mm.
it's stressful because there's a lot of prep that is involved. And the last class are like 15 4-year olds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's a tough class to teach.
Wow,
I
that
mean,
sounds difficult.
to teach them how to count to 10, that's easy. But the challenge is trying to teach them, trying to get their attention,
Mm.
especially in this classroom. There's toys over there. There's like like a monkey gym over there. It's just nuts. And like I can only focus on 5 kids at a time. And when
Yeah.
there's 15 of them, so
That's
I was
overwhelming
grumpy
for
this
sure.
morning. Yeah, I was grumpy this morning because I knew I had a tough day ahead of me,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, oh man, I want to get out of living in the city. I hate having a routine. I just want to get on a plane and go. That's what I was thinking
Yeah.
this morning.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, today was a pretty low day, and obviously compared to most people, that that's a very minimal issue, but I guess that's a testament of how good I have it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd say probably the best time is the best day of the week because I went on a hike on Sunday, and
Okay.
it was snowing here,
Oh.
and yeah, and it doesn't snow often in Mallorca. And so it's just as it's similar to how it looks back home in New Mexico when it snows. It's just a dry landscape with snow on it. It's just
Yeah.
beautiful, and it just kind of reminded me a bit of home.
Okay.
So yeah, it was just really nice to feel the fresh air, get out of the city, and so yeah, I would say because I love going out hiking and nature,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
especially when you're stuck in a city.
dude, I feel so similar right
Yeah,
now. Like,
yeah,
it's winter over here and
yeah,
the weather has just been we're reaching that point in the season where it's still freezing, but wind is starting to pick up because we're entering into spring. And so the last week or so has just been so nasty, just windy and cold. And, yesterday I was trying to replace the outdoor spigot in our backyard just because
yeah.
it's probably 50 years old right now. And so I was replacing it. And then as I was taking it off, it just broke. And so I was just like, dang it. This like stupid wind. I'm trying to get my kind of like an irrigation system set up for spring.
Right.
But every single time I want to go outside, it seems like recently it's just been cold and gross. But luckily, today it's been overcast, but the sun was peeking out for about an hour right before this podcast. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
go on a quick walk, get the blood moving a little bit, and that just makes such a big difference for me.
yeah. Oh, for sure. And just getting some sun is like changes everything.
I think that that's
So
so like people overlook that how incredibly
yeah,
important it is to get sunlight as much as you can. People putting
yeah.
on sunblock and using like,
It's so
dude,
dumb.
get sun. We need it. We're connected. Like we need sunlight.
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah, for sure. Like, so Mallorca is a sunny place. Spain in general is a very sunny place, depending where you are. Like, there's certain parts, northwest Spain, that's like Oregon, where it's rainy all the time. But where I am now, it's mostly sunny. But when you live in a city, especially like these older towns, the roads are very narrow.
Mm,
Okay, so obviously the sun rises in the east, and so when it's like up in the middle of the sky, that's the only time sunlight enters my window. You know
okay.
what I mean? So like I'm not getting natural light only for like 2 hours a day, especially in the winter, less.
Yeah.
And so if I feel like living here, I am not getting enough sunlight. As back home, I would
I
just
mean, you
step
look
outside in my
tan.
front yard and you're surrounded by light, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I will say
Yeah,
you look tan. You look like you're getting sunlight. I mean, I feel
yeah,
like I'm not getting sunlight. Just I feel like I look all pale right now, but
yeah. You know,
bad
it's a part
lighting.
of being a vato, eh?
Yeah, yeah, you got those good genes. Okay,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then last segment, I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but we could just do it again for the heck of it. Uh,
yeah.
Last segment called Level Up. What is one practice or protocol or ritual that you use or perform on a daily or weekly basis that you feel has been a game changer for you to promote your well-being? And like, if you had one tip to recommend to people, kind of struggling
Yeah.
to, you know, find energy, or, find some happiness or satisfaction, like what tip would you recommend that's worked for you?
Well, I have several. I
Let's
don't know
hear
if I
it.
can
Yeah.
tell you. Okay. I have more practical ones and maybe a bit more like woo-woo ones.
Let's hear it all.
But all right. So running. Running is very important to me
Mm,
because uh I go to the gym to lift, but nothing clears my mind and changes my mood like running, you know?
mm,
So just putting your shoes on and going out for a run.
yeah.
Uh, just can change my whole day for the better. Um, Obviously exercise, you know, cliche.
It's
Breath
important
work,
though.
yeah,
Breath
yeah.
work? Yeah.
Breath work is
Mm.
something incredible. It's hard to get disciplined to do it every day, but when
So
I
for
do
somebody
it
that
and I'm
doesn't
consistent, I feel amazing. Yeah,
for somebody who thinks that's woo woo or doesn't understand the concept like behind it, can you explain
yeah.
what it does for you, or like what exactly what protocol you use?
So I can't tell you like the nitty-gritty science of it,
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, basically is you're kind of emptying your mind and you're just concentrating on your breathing. It's something about inhaling and exhaling over and over again repetitively, just like it it it, makes you lightheaded, but it
Yeah.
gives you like this high. It gives you like this incredible high, and you're not it just I don't know, it just completely boosts your moods, like this clear mind. You know, the
Yeah.
stuff you were worrying about before, the stuff that was bothering you before, it just doesn't bother you. I don't know how to
Yeah, it's kind of
describe
just
it.
like a quick little reset. And yeah, like
Yeah,
similar to what you're saying, it does. If I just do deep breaths for 1-2 minutes straight, you get buzzed.
yeah,
You feel lightheaded,
yeah,
but I think, I mean, that's exactly what's happening when we're going on runs or doing cardio. I mean, we're not really focused on it, but where our body's reacting because it has
yeah.
to keep up
It's
with the amount of
exactly,
oxygen that it
yeah,
needs. And so, yeah, I think
yeah.
doing breath work, yeah, getting some exercise. What else?
Yeah, for sure. And for me, this is just more of a personal thing, but I say the Jesus prayer, basically. Eastern Orthodox prayers that Lord Jesus Christ, Son and Word of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. It's basically, it just kind of humbles me
Mm,
if I'm feeling angry
yeah,
or resentful, or yeah, it's just, you know, it's just kind of a reminder.
yeah,
That's all it is. Yeah.
yeah. Just a quick.
If you want to say there's like anything metaphysical about it, personally, I believe so. But uh, if it's just if you're atheist or anti-religious or whatever, for me, it's just a reminder if I let pride or something take over me. You know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, yeah, I think my spiritual practice,
right,
it like looks a little bit different these days than probably what it used to. But I think a lot of
yeah,
it is just, yeah, just trying to recenter, refocus, yeah, let go of any sort of pride, or just remember and think about how big the world is. And just like, it looks a lot more like just meditating and focusing on breath work. And
Yeah,
there's a few mantras or chants that I can kind of go back and forth on. But
sure.
yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Did you have any other ones, or was that about it?
I mean, that's pretty much about it. And obviously, just little things
I
like
mean, there's
being
so many
creative, of
things.
course. To
Yeah.
me, for me, being creative is
Yeah.
very important. And my in my free time, like for me, which is something that's important, is I like learning and I like thinking. You
Mm.
know, and like if you look at like my YouTube recommendations, it's all like philosophy, psychology, world religions,
Yeah.
debates, like so those are the kind of things that really get me interested. And if I can somehow participate or somehow just at least think about things that are not so superficial,
Mm.
I feel a lot better because I feel like most people, especially these days of TikTok and Instagram, everything is so superficial. Like I will go
Yeah.
meet people on the street and they're talking about like Shakira and her like ex-boyfriend. I feel like, oh, it's so uninteresting, man.
Yeah.
I don't
Something
know.
about the
And being an
Oscars or some new TV
yeah,
show.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or like being an English teacher, I mean, obviously, like people need to learn English, but the job to me is so like boring. Like teaching theory about English, it's just dead. There's no, it doesn't feel there's any substance to it,
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, for me, is to be intellectually stimulated in some way is
Yeah.
important for my mental health. Yeah,
I That's really good. And I feel like that's actually an
yeah,
area right now in this season of life that I'm kind of struggling with a little bit is I've
yeah,
had I feel like 3 to 5 years ago when I was kind of
mhm,
really in the depths of existential freak out because of my current physical health. I
yeah,
I felt that exact same way of just looking around and seeing what a waste of time so many things that we focus on are
yeah,
and
yeah,
were, and just like
yeah.
everything was so superficial. And I'm just like, how do how does my immediate community focus on just the most stupid and unimportant things when
Yeah,
you know we're all going to die and we need to think about what's going on, after
yeah,
life, or what's going on in space. Like, are we alone? Is there extra, like, just like thinking big
yeah,
picture
yeah.
and like, but like, I
Yeah,
feel like right now, I don't know, maybe I've just caught a bug. I've caught like a digital bug of focusing on, maybe just because of my life situation right now with like having two kids and
hmm,
focusing on like work, and there's just like so many responsibilities I feel like kind of on my plate right now that the little free time I do have, I kind of want to just like indulge on like stupid stuff and like kind of
yeah, yeah.
mind
I
numbing
I feel
distraction type
that.
stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a thing.
yeah.
I don't know.
It happens. Like I get it. Like I mean, video games, TV series can all be just a subductive way to just veg out.
Yeah.
Like I get it. I think there's moments in time where we just kind of have to turn off our brain, especially like I can't relate because you have two children now. You got a wife. You got to work full time. Like so I'm not like saying, oh yeah, look at me studying philosophy in my free time.
No, I
No, I
mean,
totally get it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I I think I'm good at noticing whenever there are red flags kind of like that. Like I'm like, okay, what is this? What is this tendency? What is this desire to just feel distracted all the time? So I am doing
mm.
something about it. Like I'm taking a couple summer classes at CNM
All right.
here in May, just like learning some computer science type stuff to just kind of stretch
Mm.
that like learning part of my brain, because I feel like I'm not learning
Yeah,
anything right now. And I think that's
yeah,
really
yeah,
important to always pursue knowledge in any
yeah.
capacity. you know?
Well, I just feel things are interesting. Like the reason we're alive, if things have purpose or that they don't,
Mm,
those are all very interesting questions to
yeah.
me. And so, yeah, I'm definitely, to me, it doesn't feel like a chore. It's just something I like
Right.
to do,
Yeah, you're
you
naturally
know?
drawn to it. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I think it's also just related to creativity and art. Like, to me, those things connect together. Making music, making little graphic videos, right? I do for fun on my spare time. It's like it's all to me.
Yeah.
All those things are very much connected to each other.
Are you still making music right now?
Well, I don't have any gear, so I can't. But I would love to.
Yeah.
So I kind of put my creativity out to like little like videos that I make, like they're like about symbolism and things like that, which is kind of fun. Like I enjoy
Mm.
making them.
Are you sharing them
It's a
anywhere, or are
lot of
they
fun.
just kind of just for you?
Uh, I don't know where to share them because I don't know the audience or how to connect to the audience. Like, but I did upload one I made like 2 years ago on my Instagram, and
Okay.
I shared it to like this weird like meme page. It's like it's about like lifting and like
Okay.
esotericism, and it's like this weird
Interesting.
like it's like I don't know what you
Okay.
call it, but he's
Little
like put
niche.
your submissions here. So I sent it to him because I thought it was relevant to what he was like posted before, and so
Hmm.
I sent it to him, and it exploded for a day because it
Oh,
was like in
really?
his stories. So it got like 3,000 views in one day,
Heck yeah.
which is from like having 100 views. So I got some recognition for it,
Yeah.
which was a good feeling. So yeah, I have that on Instagram if you want to look at it. But
Okay, cool.
yeah, for
I'll
sure, I
I'll
enjoy
uh
making stuff like that.
I'll be sure to link your Instagram down
Yeah,
below
yeah,
for
yeah,
people that are curious and want to
yeah,
check out uh
sure.
your life. Cool. All right. Well, dude, thank you for hopping on. This has been crazy. It's just crazy that you're literally on the other side of the planet and we're just having
Yeah,
this conversation. I'm going to try to the best of my ability. So I actually started a screen recording of the Skype call. So I'm just going to really try to just place that on top of the OBS video. So hopefully we
okay.
can get the video to work. If not, audio is cool only. But it's just
No
crazy
sweat.
that we can do this, and I'm stoked that we
Yeah,
were able
no.
to.
Yeah, yeah. I we can talk about a lot of things, but I like just enjoyed, just letting the conversation flow. It was fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, it's
Just
good to
catching
catch
up.
up
Yeah, of
because
course.
we just talk about this normally if it wasn't recorded.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude, yeah, I would love to do this regularly. I mean, if that's
yeah. Why
interesting to
not?
you, I mean, maybe we could do this every few months or so. Just
Why
keep in
not? Yeah,
touch. It's I mean, we have the tools right here. I just need to manipulate these settings a little bit. But yeah, if you're down,
for
dude, I'd
sure.
love to have you back on at some point once I
Yeah,
actually
yeah. No, it's been
figure
a
out
lot of
my
fun.
shit.
Maybe we can get like Kyler on
The
so we
whole
can just talk
crew.
about like all the trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just talk about our childhood and just what
Yeah.
we did. That'd be a lot of fun.
That would. Yeah, that would probably be healing
Yeah.
in a lot of ways for me.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, for sure.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, again, like I said, I'll post Brandon's Instagram down below for people that are interested. And yeah, thank you again. And thanks to everybody for listening. And we'll see you
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. It was a pleasure.